Turtle Logo lesson number 6 advanced, using loops with variables and sprites. In this tutorial, what we're going to do is use loops to make our code more efficient. So once again, we always start with our onStart block, and then we create our variable first. To begin with, we're only going to have one variable called myDuck. Once we have our variable, then we're going to go and grab the turtle object. We're going to assign it to our new variable, and we're going to assign our object to have a sprite that is a duck. And then it should show up over in our game console. There we go. Next, you'll remember from previous lessons, we actually learned how to move our turtle objects forward and also to turn corners with them. Move right or turn right or left. So we're going to do that. Grab the move forward block and set it to our particular turtle object. And then take our turtle object and turn right 90 degrees. So in our game console, you'll see the turtle move forward, and notice that it actually turned right, and it's now pointing down because it turned right by 90 degrees. So what I'm going to get you to do is to try something out for me. If I asked you to draw a square, how would you make a square with 25 steps? How would you write the code to make that happen? How would you get your duck to draw a square for you? So I'm just going to get you to pause the video, go try some things out, and see what you come up with. When you're done, come on back. Okay, so you're back. This might be one of the solutions that you came up with, and I'm just going to reproduce it just to show you that it actually does work. So I'm just going to duplicate these 2 blocks of code over and over again and have 4 sets of them. So I'm going to move forward, turn 90 degrees, move forward again, turn 90 degrees, move forward again, turn 90 degrees, so on and so on. And I'm going to repeat those blocks over and over again 4 times, and hopefully that will make a square, and the duck will end up right where it started from. So there you go. So the duck made a little trail around, and it ended up where it started from, and it's even pointing in the right direction. So just show that again. There we go. So this is a totally valid solution, and it's normally what people will come up with the first time they're presented with something like this. There's a big problem. You will notice that these last 2 blocks of code, or these blocks of code, I repeated them 4 times over. So I'm just going to drag out the 4 instances of these 2 blocks that we wrote over and over again. So there they are. Okay, so it was the same code that we needed to write 4 times over. In programming, this is usually a really, really bad idea. Repeating yourself just encourages you to make errors. You might put in not 25, you might not put in 90 degrees just in one of them by mistake, and then you're not going to get a square. Even worse, I might come by later and say, oh, I didn't really want it to go 25 steps, I wanted it to go 30 steps. Now you have to find 4 different spots where you need to change that value. So repeating yourself in programming is something you should always try to avoid. So to avoid that, we're going to use a new block that we have today under loops, shockingly, and it is the repeat block. So we call it the repeat block. How many times it repeats is this number that you can type in, change it to whatever you want. At the moment, it repeats 4 times. So how this works is it actually has a hole in it where you can place code. Whatever code is placed in here will be executed at the moment 4 times, because the 4 here. So this is much better because by doing it this way, you can cut back on how many times you repeat yourself. So we're just going to drag 1 instance of this chunk of code that we repeated 4 times, or that we had to write out 4 times, and hopefully it will do the exact same thing, which it does. So this is much cleaner code. It's much easier to write, much easier to understand. It doesn't go on forever and ever. And if you need to change things, it's easier to change. So if someone came by and said, oh no, I wanted a square that is 35 steps, one change is all you have to make, and the new program will work. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to change some code up and make sure that it works, and then I'm going to show you something else you can do with loops. So I'm just going to add in these 3 blocks of code that will move the turtle over before it starts writing stuff. So I'm going to lift the pen up. We've done that before on my duck. I'm going to move forward 50 steps. And then I'm going to put the pen down. So I'm just moving it forward. Oh, you will notice that I have an error. So I have an error because I didn't change my variable name to my duck. So make sure you always are using the proper variable. And I'm going to change this back to 25. Okay, so the duck should just move over and now draw the square. Oh, I did not put the pen back down. So we'll give that another try. There we go. So my duck will now draw the 25-step square, but it's over to one side. So just because we can do this with one variable using a loop, some people might question, can we do it with 2 objects? And absolutely, you can have more than one looping structure, more than one repeat block. So we're going to create our myApple variable. And we're going to just follow along with this code. So the beginning part we already have. We have a duck, lifts the pen up, moves it forward, puts it down. Then we're going to create our apple. So notice you don't have to create the turtle objects right at the beginning, although usually we do just for ease of reading code. So there's our apple sprite. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with the apple, but we're going to move it backwards. Okay, so we're going to lift the apple pen up. We're going to move it backwards, not forwards, by 50 steps. And then we're going to remember to put the pen back down so that it'll start typing again. Oh, and look, I did the same thing. I didn't assign it to the myApple. I left it at myTurtle and I'm getting an error. So make sure you remember to do that. There we go. And then we have our repeat block for our duck. And then we're going to do the exact same kind of repeat block, but we're going to go backwards and left for our apple. So I'm just going to copy this. When you duplicate the repeat block, notice nicely it duplicates everything inside for you. So the apple, but we're going to move backwards, and the apple, and we're going to turn left. So let's go look over at our, oops, I forgot to move the apple backwards here. Remember, it was backwards. So that should be better now. So our duck moves forward, our apple moves backwards, then our duck draws a square. I made a mistake. I didn't put the pen down. Duck moves forward, apple moves back, one square, second square. Okay, so absolutely you can have more than one repeat block, and you can have them for different turtle objects as well. Okay, so in this exercise, what I'm going to do is looking back at our previous example of just the, grab out the duck code and remove the apple code. There we go. We should just have our duck now. So when we had our duck drawing a square, we can use that same kind of logic to actually draw a circle this time. Okay, so a circle is going to be drawn in our old school 8-bit little computer by drawing a little tiny line and then turning a small angle. Little tiny line and turning a small angle. And we're going to do it over and over and over and over again until we end up where we were at the beginning. So we're going to use some of our code just to move the duck over and out of the way over to the corner so that we can draw a nice big circle. So we already have our duck. We have pen down. We're going to move backwards 7 steps. We're going to turn left by 90 degrees. We're going to move forward 40 steps. I've already made a mistake. Notice I didn't change the variable myTurtle. So we're going to move forward 40 steps. Just going to stop that so it's not running while we're trying to. Then we're going to turn right. I'm just going to duplicate this one. 90 degrees. Then we're going to put the pen down, and for nice measure, we're going to change the color. And I've chosen blue, dark blue, to be our color. Okay, I'm just double checking to make sure that I have everything right. There we go. Okay, so remember I said the number, don't have everything right. There we go. Remember I said the number can be changed, so instead of 4, I'm going to do this 120 times. Instead of moving forward a large amount, I'm going to move forward just 2 steps, 2 pixels. And that's it. And I'm going to turn right, but instead of 90 degrees, which we've done mostly, only 3 degrees, so a very small amount. 3 degrees. And if anybody's noticed or you remember how many degrees there are in a circle, there's 360. And if I'm turning 3 degrees 120 times, that equals 360, so I should end up where I began. So let's run our program and see if I've done this correctly. And I have not. I messed something up. What did I do wrong? Turn right. I said turn left, right here. Okay, so these kind of mistakes that you make in your programming, this is common when you're coding, so get used to it. There we go. So my little duck drew us a circle. A small little amount forwards and then turn a small little amount of angles and just do it over and over and over and over again. So success. Now you know how to use loops. Imagine if you had to write out these 2 blocks of code 120 times. Your program would be huge and it would be a nightmare to try to fix something or maintain something. So that's why we have the repeat block. We have loops. So your turn. What I'd like you to get you to do is to, doesn't have to be a turtle, you can have some other sprite if you want, but I want you to draw a regular octagon. So regular means that every distance is the same and every angle is the same. An octagon has 8 sides and the angle is 45 degrees. So that should help you out. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for you to do. And as a bonus, can you get 2 turtle objects to draw 2 octagons, one right after another? Okay, so that's the extra bonus on looping to see if you can get that working. And that's our lesson for